target with what I believe is the struggle that we face and the freedom that they had the freedom in the garden to do whatever they wanted as well. The only thing they weren't supposed to do was take that one piece of fruit from that tree. And I don't think necessarily the tree had any specific power in and of itself. I think it was God saying, here is the one thing that I would prefer you not to do. Because if you do that, it's going to open up your eyes to something, and it's going to cause you to enter into this struggle between good and evil, and the things, and humility versus pride, and thinking of yourself versus thinking of others, and ultimately separating them from God and us from God in the long run. My name's Chrystal, and I'm a pastor, but I have my own business, and I also help my wife with her business. And I work here at Bayside. This is a Bayside church here in California. I'd say it's been a part of my life since I can remember, when I was about 3 or 4 years old. And when I was a teenager, I really rebelled against it because there was a lot of legalistic rules and do's and don'ts that I just felt like, hey, if the Bible's going to tell me to do something, it's going to also tell me why. So I kind of rebelled in my teenage years and said, I'm going to find out why. I'm going to do some things and rebel against my parents and the things that they say I shouldn't do, with things that the church says I shouldn't do. And what that did for me is it helped me to really understand that it's not necessarily about what people are telling me what I should and shouldn't do. It's about understanding what's beneficial. So I think a lot about how I can help others, how I can serve others throughout everything that I do, everything I say, as best I can. It doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. As a matter of fact, I do get selfish quite a bit. And I start to think, well, what about me? What about the things that I want, things that I need? But what I found in most of my experiences is that I get to enjoy the things that I need and want more when I think about others and how I can benefit them at the same time. To a prisoner, they think about and dream about the freedom outside of the four walls and the cage that they're in. But once they get out, if they've been in there for an extended amount of time, that freedom is very scary because they've been in this confine for so long that the open walls, the open borders are very, very difficult for them to comprehend. And even though I would consider that to be not freedom at all, they're considering it to be, this is my freedom, and it's within these four walls. I would want them to get out of that and experience this kind of freedom. I would be remiss to actually not mention somebody in my own family that has been a traveler on the streets with a backpack and a dog for the last 1.5 years. And for her, as she described it to me, in the homeless community, the traveling community, freedom to them is not having to worry about paying taxes, or they can do whatever they want, they can experiment with whatever they want to experiment with. I think that sometimes we get, maybe the word is deceived, into thinking that where we are right now is freedom. And I think about the last 2 years and what's happened with racism in this country, and I can't find anyone else to blame really than myself for not being more vocal about honoring other people. And this friend of mine, who's a pastor in West Roseville, is an African-American pastor, but I really wanted to hear from him, what do you think about the people that are around you? What are your experiences? Explain to me when you walk into a room full of all these white people, how you feel. We've talked about that a lot, so when something like the last couple of years happens in this country where race becomes a big issue, it could have become a rift between the two of us if we had not kept that open, honest, free communication with each other, knowing that we felt safe, we felt trusted, we felt there wasn't going to be any criticism or judgment based off of how we felt or what we said. But we truly did want to understand what the other person was feeling and thinking and what they experienced. Can we come to a point of mutual relationship where we can actually not just get along, because I think that's tolerance, but how can we accept each other for who we are and understand that we have the freedom to live that way and to be who we are. At the same time, how can it be beneficial for us in relationship to use those differences and actually elevate each other